Emerging from winter.
We battened down hatches in November for the drag of winter. In our floodplain town, there are things we have to accept.
We'll be dragged out of our beds at 3 a.m. to fill sandbags.
We'll build barricades, a ring of wet faces under torchlight.
Boys will stand guard on each estate, texting updates as fields transform to open water gathering waves.
We'll become isolated. Our roads grow currents, sludge, train tracks hang from trees like rope bridges.
We'll pull together as we have before.
A valley of people constructing defences, writing letters, checking on neighbours, calling on leaders to act. We'll emerge in March with weather-beaten bunting.
Our oak trees engraved with hundreds of years of stories, roots loosened by floods is taken away by the river.
But we rebuild this land of a steadfast and quiet. Hold our farmers' markets and county shows. Fill our halls with donations, reminded that not all is lost. Land of water cannot truly be owned. We are part of a cycle as old as time. The river Conwy is of its own force. How long can we hold the water back?
We wonder if our great-grandchildren will dip their feet into the low river of summers and walk the streets we walk today.
The river feeds the land and wildlife.
Mae llifogydd yn problem. Rivers are very important today.
Mae'r afonydd yn pwysig.
This is a story of Afanc the serpent.
Know my story, weary he, the story of Afanc from Conwy. Years ago, underneath the river was a monster like the Loch Ness, but way much bigger. Ymgodi Afanc, he lived below. Craturu and floods everywhere he'd go. The locals were afraid, but had to deliver crops and animals to the dragon of the river.
Bydd rhaid I mi ymosod ar Afanc.
The villagers decided to face their fears and attack Afanc with their swords and spears. They meffaith ar Afanc, dim byd ond poen. A skin like steel, ddim yn cyffwrdd eu croen. Spears didn't work, they needed a new plan. Meddwl dal ar Afanc and catch him if we can. Then, as they saw Afanc swim by, they used their voices to sing a lullaby.
Mae pentrefnydd wedi dal Afanc.
While he slept, they wrapped him in chains. Afanc was asleep and felt no pain. Unwaith nath o ddeffro, he let out a roar, but Afanc was stuck and couldn't move anymore. Then a farmer called on his oxen. The ox came running, saw Afanc and stopped him. The oxen dragged Afanc out. All Afanc did was scream and shout.
The oxen took Afanc to Llynfon on Las.
What happened next, I hear you ask? Oxen dragged Afanc to Llynfon on Las, a giant lake near the summit of Snowdon with huge rock walls so they could hold him. Afanc got loosened, leapt out of the chains into Llynfon on a made a huge wave. This is Afanc's new home, do not enter. This is where Afanc will remain forever.
Ydy Afanc dal yn fyw? Has Afanc escaped Llynfon on Las?
Bydd crwn cast o'r hen air Nordig casta a'r ffurf ac arolwg yn siap heb ffyrdd wedi wrthdroi. Yn y ddeunydd wedi ffurfio tu mewn I blisgyn y corff, o wyneb a chanol y gragen I sgerbod, lapied o brif. Rhain yn eirmedig castan, ar ffurf ac arolwg, yn siap, heb ffurf wedi wrthdroi. Yn ddeunydd wedi ffurfio tu mewn I blisgyn y corff, o wyneb a chanol y gragen I sgerbod, Hagira o brif, taith. Yn enwedig pan ymgymerurach I ddiag o sefyllfa beryglus neu annymunol. Hagira, taith, yn enwedig pan ymgymerurach I ddiag o sefyllfa beryglus neu annymunol. Hagira, taith, yn enwedig pan ymgymerurach I ddiag o sefyllfa beryglus neu annymunol. Beth ydyn ni'n troi mewn I, ni yr hen gronau. Beth allwn ni fod? Pwy fydd yn dod gyda ni wrth I ni droi? Pwy fydd yn gweld ni yn troi? I ble byddwn ni'n trawsnewid? Gyda beth y byddwn ni'n dod? Rydym I gyd yn ffoaduriaid nawr, y dynol a'r anynol.
climate change or climate action,
or
your personal relationship with climate change.
Statement hwn, dwi'n dweud, mae popeth yn dibynnu ar popeth arall, and yn Saesneg, everything depends on everything else. So. My word's habitat, and because I'm really concerned and I'm very into nature and wildlife, I'm concerned that habitats are being lost with sort of flooding and fires. So much habitat is being lost to wildlife as a direct result of these sort of really intense weather activities we're having. I see it even in the hills here, so much, when we get really heavy rains and a lot of soil and is being washed out. I'm going to borrow from the words of my hero Joni Mitchell, and one of her songs had the words, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone."
Anybody in any way can take action. There may be no single way of doing it right. Find your community and your voice. Anybody can take climate action in their own way. What gives you hope for the future, like with climate change? What makes you hopeful, or hopeless in a way, but hopeful first?
Giving people voices, even tiny voices, quiet voices, people who aren't so keen to talk out. And I think that's really what gives me most hope. Here, haven't you? That you used to.
Yeah, it's not quite a ski resort, is it?
No, but it's a point about how the snow used to be deep enough to do that.
Yeah. It used to be cold enough up here in the winter. Every so often you get snow, and you could pop skis on and go out to the back and ski back down into the village. I mean, it's not like a ski resort, but it was often enough that you kind of look forward to it when it happened. And then all these streams used to freeze as well, and you could walk up into these streams and just go and play up there and go ice climbing on the streams and things. So that hasn't happened really for years now.
Learning about the climate crisis is very overwhelming. There's so many different issues, from food, water, everything really. And when I learned about it, I was quite overwhelmed. I feel like community is really important in any crisis, and I think because community is everything really, because if people came together or worked together, then you can start solving the climate change.
Mm-hmm. Yes, everything has to start small, doesn't it? Yeah.
About saying, it was that thing you were saying yesterday about the right thing, or the thing that's most important, but actually any step in the right direction is going to help.
when people were asking me questions, it felt like so pressured, if you know what I mean, and really like intense.
Yes. That's when the emotion, like,
yeah,
that kind of inordinate emotion comes up, isn't it? When you feel under pressure. Yeah.
Back then, over to Blimey, you used to just assume that was shut from, for big blocks in the winter, and it's just always open now. So it's just those are the practical things. Driving to work used to take a lot longer. Now that's a bit quicker. But, yeah, it's noticeable. It's noticeable. It's one of those things where when you look back at it, you can see that it's happened gradually.
I had to kind of wait to see where the water actually was coming out, and then just take loads of slate and build like a little gully that it would come down. So now we've got these 2 gullies in the garden, which when it rains a lot, but there's water absolutely tanking down there. Which when it rains a lot, but there's water absolutely tanking down there.
Sure that people have access to nature in their everyday life.
So when you walk here through the grass in our field, it's just beautiful to see all these insects come out. I had to kind of wait to see where the water actually was coming out, and then just take loads of slate and build like a little gully that it would come down. So now we've got these 2 gullies in the garden, which when it rains a lot, there's absolutely tanking down there.
Different lichens have different requirements, and they are indicators of change in the environment. So if you have certain lichens, you can say that all the air is clean, it's good air, and then you can have other lichens which you see particularly bright orange, like it likes nitrogen in the atmosphere, so you can tell there's a lot of nitrogen in the atmosphere. Then you're likely to find it on twigs and trees.
Like funding support, that's really important, because obviously if you try and farm in the most environmental friendly, it means that you can't do as much with your land, you can't graze the land as much, so then you need stuff like funding just to get the cash flow and that, to get the income up. So I think that's one of the main reasons that not a lot of farmers maybe do farm in the most environmental way, because it doesn't pay as well as, if you were just grazing your land with sheep all the time. If you look after the land,
then the use will look after the land. That's the most important part. If you look after the soil, that's the most important part.
If you look after the land, then look after your
It's like with certain things, like I know where there are certain
of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
5 years ago, or 2?
I would say it's like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were supposed to go to Llandudno, but it was so flooded we couldn't even get out of Llanrwst.
Aderyn fi a'i blydi sidan, a'i rai tafod hadan, a'i di drosto I gydweli, I sbio'r hyn ta ferch rwy'n gari.
My nice house got flooded.
Oh, I know,
yeah,
it was pretty bad.
It was very bad, and apparently it was up to more than our ankle. It was between me and our ankle. My dad's friends had to come over and they had to get buckets and get it out.
I remember with the Gaeaf, like that place usually never gets flooded until one year. It got flooded so badly you had to get like a whole new flooring.
My house was slightly on the hill, so we could see the water on our road, but because ours was slightly above the other houses, we were okay.
My sister's actually disabled, and it was quite scary. The whole of the bottom floor got washed out. You know,
it was feet of water, wasn't it?
We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to turn. Yeah, it was everybody. It was mayhem that day.
It was really weird, but basically we weren't allowed to leave the house. My mum told us we weren't allowed, and we just stayed in, and I didn't really know what to think about everybody else. Half the time was okay, and the others weren't. It wasn't the best situation for us.
The physical effects of flooding are discussed a lot. You know, we've spoken about the rising river. And do you think that it's sort of a trend when you see rising rivers, you also see rising worrying signs in people's mental health as well in the community?
I think people feel anxious, especially after the last flood. Definitely, I think it really shocked everybody because it's never been that bad. You can hear the river from everywhere, can't you? You can hear the rain going on the river. You know when it's high without even looking in the dark, can't you?
You know, yeah, and it's also people have become habitualised to it. They just expect it to happen here. So sometimes, you know, people have become so used to it that they feel helpless. There can't be anything done. You know, so you do hear with some people, well, we can't do anything. This is the way it's always been. Investment, and it takes people that manage the money to actually, you know, take on board what's happening and think about the future and start to be a bit creative and innovative. For example, I don't think it's just mental health that people are affected by, it's also physical. So we have people that are cut off. So when there's floods in Llanrwst, you're cut off on all sides. So we've had people that have had heart attacks that have not been able to get to hospital. They've had to be airlifted. We have people awake during the night, filling sandbags with leaking. If the water's not running off a council road, the council have said that they will provide sandbags. It's not their responsibility. So you have people struggling, saying, oh my God, where are we going to get the sandbags? What are we going to do? Trying to stop the water from coming in their homes. So that's why our Flood Action Group has raised money. We've got a couple of stations in Llanrwst where we've just got sand and the bags. People just help themselves.
Outside your house?
I've got one on my drive ready for people. And we've got young men in the area that drive trucks that come and pick it up and drop it off volunteering.
Nes I gofyn iddi roedd hi'n siarad am y tirwedd a roedd effaith yr amgylchedd yn cael effaith ar y pobl. So o'n i fel, nes I gofyn, like, is the state of the land affecting the state of the people mentally? And she was like, yeah.
Yn rhywle fel Llanrwst, mae bobl sydd wedi dioddau o llifogydd. Mae o'n creu anxiety a stress a worry pawb really. So if there are floods, if people feel threatened, people feel that they don't know how to do anything, ac mae o'n teimlo mor disconnected i actions bach bob dydd. So mae yna her fan yn does o sut da ni'n newid ymddygiad ni, how we change our behaviour for the benefit of the planet. How can we make that link between extreme weather, for example, and people's day-to-day actions? I don't know what the answer is.
Yr ardal, ti'n gwybod bod mae'r floods wedi digwydd fwy gwaith. Mae di fynd drwy bach o cameras o 4 blynedd yn ôl, mae'n dechrau fel codi mae mwy bobl yn cael ei effeithio o'r floods. I think we're in this cycle and we don't know exactly how to break it because we have these huge corporations of the fossil fuels and everything. And we have to go along because we don't have that much power compared to other people. And I think because we're going along and we don't want to spend as much money or try as hard because we don't know exactly what to do, I think we're definitely in denial. I realise how many times we get flooded and it's like gradually going worse and
I know.
worse.
The guy told us instead, like, we'd never get flooded. Like, Llanrwst's been flooded like loads of times in the past. Just that one year that got flooded really, really badly. It was a bit like a shock to the system. Like, oh wow.
And we don't really know the extent of what we're doing.
Beth ti'n meddwl sy'n gallu dod i'r community?
So dod, that's really hard.
Cool. Beth fel yn yr ysgol?
Fel bach fwy fel... Na i wedi dysgu bach am fel climate change ac sy'n mae'n effeithio, ond fel na i mond i fel twchad fel mae'n bosib fel yn drwg fel fe ys rhaid o chwiliadau so fel yna. Fel fel really syml felly wrach. So fel ysgol yn dysgu fel bach mwy.
What do you think are the major barriers to community engagement in sustainable solutions in Llanrwst or North Wales or Wales in general or globally at any level? And what sort of solutions do you think could be used to overcome those barriers?
There's definitely many renewable stuff. So I think that's like the biggest barrier in this community.
I don't think we're given enough information, enough more to what actually could happen, because they're showing how bad it could, they're showing what's happening now, but they're not telling us what could happen in the future.
We have like some sort of idea, but not like the bigger picture.
Yeah, so if we were given a more clear maybe it has to be escalated to make that if that happens then we would have change.
What do you think is the role of the community in kind of tackling climate change or making more reliable? Sometimes the same with like carbon dibynnu or actioning, like dibynnu like beth ti'n meddwl am?
Can't be reliant on everyone else because they're not going to be reliant on you. They're going to depend on themselves, so you've got to depend on yourself to make a change.
To some extent, like depend on like other people doing their part to stop climate change as well.
Yeah, like
but if it's just you like doing it, you will do like some sort of difference, but not like a massive difference if like.
No, what I mean is, if someone doesn't partake in helping climate change, that small person can make a difference.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that every person can help.
Yeah.
Bod mae'n drafodaethau wedi bod efo'r llywodraethau dros y byd, ond eto dwi dal yn siŵr iawn be ydyw bwriad nhw, be maen nhw'n bwriadu wneud o ran mynd ato i weithredu yn erbyn newid hinsawdd. Be maen nhw'n bwriadu wneud. Gael y person cyffredin i ddeall beth sy'n mynd ymlaen. Dwi'n meddwl bod o'n bwysig bod nhw'n syml i ar bod gwybodaeth mwyn i person cyffredin fel fi gwybod yn iawn be di'r goblygiadau o ran newid hinsawdd sut maen nhw'n mynd ati. dargedu hynny.
That's some nice stuff then.
Fel Cymraeg, mae gen i fel yn deimlad o berthyn i'n amgylchedd. Mae diwylliant ar amgylchedd, dwi'n meddwl yn mynd law yn llaw drwy o gen Gwlad Cymru yn gwerthfawrogi lle dwi'n byw yn credu. Dwi'n meddwl o'n bwysig bod ni ddim yn difetha yr amgylchedd ac byd natur gadw hynny yn sicr yn bwysig.
We can't just look at solutions for us here in the town of Llanrwst. We need to look at the whole picture. That's why we need to look from mountaintop to the estuary. We also need to be taking more measures up in the mountaintops also to slow the flow of water down, because we can do even more to hold water in the mountains, especially in Llanrwst.
Yeah, like if more people were like educated about how bad climate change is for this community and like how you can do that thing.
Dwi'n fachgen o cefn gwlad Llanrwst i magu ar ffarm. Felly pan dwi'n meddwl am natur, dwi'n meddwl am cefn gwlad Cymru ac amaeth. Felly mae'r Cymreictod, mae'r cysylltiad yna rhwng natur, amaeth a Cymreictod yn agos iawn i ni. Felly dwi'n meddwl am y natur, dwi'n meddwl amdano fo yn y Gymraeg a dwi'n cysylltu dyfodol cefn gwlad Cymru efo dyfodol y iaith Gymraeg.
Dwi'n meddwl bod defnydd y iaith yn defnydd, achos mae yna ddywediadau a ffyrdd ysgrifio y tirwedd mewn ffordd sy'n teimlo'n agos at ti.
Dwi'n bod yn meddwl nôl i'r Celtiaid. Fel, dwi'n jyst gallu fel llunio fel pob man gyda coedwig.
Mae yna ymddywediad yn dod nôl at dy goed sydd yn cyfieithu i literal translation is going back to your trees, but it really means coming back to your senses. So mynd nôl at dy goed, mae hwnna fel mental health and well-being, really, and being yourself again.
Fel person sy'n byw ar ffarm yn hyn, fel oedd dwi'n bys at ffermwyr amaethyddiaeth o ran y drwg maen nhw'n neud i'r amgylchedd. Ond y gwirionedd ydy, maen nhw yn dweud gorau glas i geisio amddiffyn ar amgylchedd, i wella'r amgylchedd, i drin y tir ac ati. Dwi'n meddwl, oes mae gen ffermwyr lot i wneud i wella ac i achosi gwelliant, ond hefyd mae'n bwysig i bobl eraill hefyd. Bod ni ddim pwyntio bys a bod lle bod pawb yn dod at ei gilydd ac yn neud rhywbeth mwyn gwella'r sefyllfa ran newid hinsawdd.
The weather's nice as well, it's half the job really, isn't it?
Our first landing said it was drought loss pressure for the locally, and then last year had 2 snowfalls.
Yeah, we're going out and then it was just mainly picking lambs there, really.
How do you think you can apply pressure to make changes happen?
That's the big question that we're struggling with, because we don't know how, and we're not sure what we're supposed to be doing, because we're doing the little things now, but if we're going to make a difference, how do we take the big steps?
You mentioned you really sort of like kind of denial. Do you think sort of kind of education could help overcome that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah, like if more people were like educated and know how bad climate change is for this community and like how do people do that thing. Someone in our year, I think there's one person per county when they go to the sandbags, you know.
So he is a person we have to go to.
Well, there's such like a big question to ask, like if someone ruling like a country.
But if we ask too much of a simple question, or a certain question, it can be answered with a simple answer.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't get a full explanation.
I'd probably like ask them if you can have somehow have more renewable energy, like for more people.
If we had more information and more facts about what we could be doing instead of just throwing words around, then we'd have a better understanding.
With every conversation, there sort of needs to be a bigger focus on sort of global systemic impacts of the climate emergency.
Anybody in any way can take action and maybe know the simple way of doing it right. Find your community and your voice. Anybody can take climate action in their own way.
These conversations need to continue and not just stop when this project